Aaron Cash, welcome to Listening with Leaders. You are the co-founder and president of Garage Living, founded garageliving.com, and you're in the business of remodeling garages on a franchise model. Thanks a lot for showing up.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about your backstory, how you got into this business.
Yeah, so before we started the business, I was fortunate enough to have a couple of positions with large multinational marketing organizations. And it was one of those things where you learned where you didn't want to be versus sort of where you wanted to spend your time. So I quickly recognized that the large corporation perhaps wasn't the best fit for me, and I was interested in sort of carving my own path. Some people get that entrepreneurial bug early in life. Some people, get great experience in the corporate world and then transition. For me, it was something I wanted to do sort of right out of the gate. So after I graduated from business school, that's what I decided to do. And a couple of friends, classmates of mine, and we went to visit a contact that one of us had in the Chicago area. And that contact was in the metal fabrication business, had worked on some consumer products in the past, and sort of gave us some exposure to garage storage organization and home organization in general. And that was at a time when HGTV was exploding. DIY was all the rage. Home Depot was opening up a store every day in North America. And so the category was our category was in its infancy, but home improvement in general was just on fire. And so this seemed like a great opportunity to really explore something that was relatively untapped. And we thought originally, this is fantastic. This gentleman has a product line. We're going to distribute it, and we're going to get a golden ticket as soon as we get a purchase order from a large retailer, which was an interesting lesson because those large retailers, mass merchants, take risks on categories that aren't proven or things that they think will be a demand, but they don't have the consumer demand yet. So we got a lot of no's, and we decided to change gears and pivot and really build a model that went direct to consumer. And that's sort of how Garage Living was born and how we have evolved since those very early days.
So in the beginning, were you guys doing all the sales and installation work yourselves?
Yeah, it was quite interesting. We had 3 business school students that I think of the 3 of us, I was probably the most handy, and that was limited to doing some projects with my father on weekends and things like that. Definitely was not a carpenter, had limited exposure to a lot of the tools that we would need, but I was willing to learn and figure it out. And so, yeah, we did all the sales. We quickly hired some staff to do installations professionally. But yeah, we had to figure it out right from day one. And that was a lot of fun, a lot of hard work, but a lot of fun at the beginning.
And at some point in time, you pivoted to a franchise model. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we spent about 10 years really understanding and growing our business. We did end up doing a lot of distribution of products that we developed and contract manufactured for ourselves from overseas. And around 2009, 2010, we sort of spun that off because it really had taken on a life of its own. And it was at that turning point that we decided to refocus on Garage Living and really reinvest our resources and build it, and with the focus of expanding geographically. And so by 2015, we had done all of our legal documents, our disclosure documents, and enough research that convinced us that a franchise model was definitely a great way to expand in many different markets across North America. And, as we sort of round the corner for 2023 and 2024, we're just over 50 franchise units. We're looking to double that size over the next few years. So
Wow.
it's been a very exciting ride.
Tell us about your typical franchisee.
Yeah, so it's evolved a little bit over the last number of years. There was a time when we were bringing in a lot of individuals who had come from the corporate world with a sales and marketing background and wanted to build a business on their own, and that's still the case a lot of the time. We do get people that have worked for others in a construction related field, where sales is obviously something that they're very comfortable with. The installation side, the construction side, for the most part, can be taught, and we can hire great team members that can complete that side of the business. But working with people, marketing, understanding what it's like to take a customer through an entire journey is really the critical experience and skills that we look for in our franchise candidates.
So you got what, 50 or so franchisees now, franchisors?
Yeah.
And I think the magic number I've heard is you want to break 100 and you hit the big time.
So it really depends on what model you have. If you're talking about service restaurants, 100 will not cut it. You need real volume.
Right.
And those groups and those brands tend to get big real quick. For us, it's a bit different. I mean, our volume and our average ticket is much higher than, obviously going and get a burger and fries or, maybe a burrito is more popular these days, but it's a different business model altogether. In home services, I mean, the 50 unit mark is significant. That being said, we still got a lot of runway. We're now in 3 countries. So we successfully launched in Australia this past year, which is exciting. So we're now in Canada, the US, and Australia, which is very interesting markets.
So as president, what are your typical day-to-day duties and problems that you have to solve?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I feel like there are a lot of different challenges that I get involved with on a day-to-day basis. Looking back over the last 3 years, it's been a wild ride, really since COVID started. I'll take it back a second, even farther, in that when we were operating our corporate franchise location, which we still do, my partners still run that business, and it's our single largest unit here in Toronto. We were very much operating the business on a local level, and we were satisfying each customer one at a time and working on all of the different elements of marketing to generate more leads. When we grew our franchise business, we created an entirely new business. It's totally separate operation. It has an infrastructure to support other business owners, with a marketing department, a finance department, supply chain, and everything else required in order to build something that supports other businesses. So my day-to-day obviously has changed, and in the last year, as we've grown and built out our infrastructure, has definitely become a little bit more strategic. I try and do my best to have amazing team members that take care of some of the more day-to-day in the weeds type of tasks. I roll up my sleeves as much as I possibly can and need to. So I always tell everybody I'm not too good for anything, whether that's loading a truck late in the day or accepting a shipment or figuring out a challenge with an order that has to go somewhere. I'm happy to take care of that. But we've worked very hard to build a team that has increased our efficiency and productivity and improved the level of support for our franchisees. So my day-to-day now is really working with our department leaders. I still do a lot of our franchise development, meeting with new candidates, working with our youngest franchisees as they get out of the gate. I work a lot with our operations department in terms of helping them to assist our franchisees to get to the next level. And I spend a lot of time in our marketing as well. We do a lot of great work with our digital marketing and improving our systems and our IT to maximize our marketing spend and generate as many leads as possible for our franchisees. So that's typically, and in the finance role, I mean, I'm working on our plans and looking at our budgets often. So that's sort of what my day is in a nutshell, if I can sum it up.
It sounds like a full day. What do you think the biggest challenge is for your franchisees and for the business in general?
So I would definitely say there's two, which is really interesting. The first is market awareness. I explained a bit about garage living and the garage transformation category, but in many places where we don't operate yet, there may be a local company that does work like we do, in the same category, I should say. And there may be another small franchise brand also in the local area, but by and large, there is still an enormous segment of the population that has never heard of the work that we do. So one of our biggest challenges is really to create more market awareness as we get into a market and really explain to people not only what we can do, but what the value of the garage is, if it is finished and if it takes on a different purpose. And then the second is obviously brand awareness. It's a challenge, but one of the major benefits of joining a franchise brand is that you get out of the gate very fast, and we have a lot of the tools in place in order to create that brand awareness very quickly. So it's exciting once we launch a new market and we launch our campaigns. We're generating leads within days.
Wow!
And so it's pretty exciting.
You do any new construction work, or is it all remodeling?
No, it's both. Given sort of where we sit from a positioning perspective, most of our new construction work is oftentimes in custom home builds.
Mm-hmm.
And that's great because we work with a lot of custom home builders and architects and designers that become, partners, business development partners, or trade partners rather, that we regularly get referrals from. So that becomes a great source of repeat business for us. And they're often working on fantastic projects. Some of the larger scale home builders, in the States, they call it tract homes or large subdivision homes. It's still fairly low on the adoption curve, just in terms of all of the other areas of the house that potentially a lower value home may look to think about where they want to put their dollars. This product's not for everybody, in that people really have to prioritize where they're spending their money, and that's okay, and that's important, and hopefully one day we'll be everybody's customer, but it's not typically for everybody at the same time.
What's the basic price range that people can expect if they want to have you guys come in and redo the garage or do
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, and we often talk about sort of our overall project size.
Mm-hmm.
And I can share it from two perspectives. One, in that our overall project size typically starts around $10,000 and then can go up well over $100,000. Right. And then there are elements of our projects that can be, far lower than $10,000, and they may just be, working on the floor or doing some organization, and we can do elements of that. But our overall project size, when you're talking about something full scope, it starts at around $10,000. That being said,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. That being said, I mean, that $10,000, if you think about it on a per square footage basis, when you're talking about a large garage space or a garage space in general, is exceptional value compared to a basement or a kitchen or a bathroom that cost many multiples of $10,000. So we always talk about the space and how valuable it is and the opportunity there.
So I would imagine the cost per square foot's a lot less than doing a kitchen or a bathroom.
Significantly less.
And I saw some of the pictures on your website at garageliving.com, and I mean, they're drop dead gorgeous. They look like showrooms.
Yeah, they can be. We always like most companies, we want to show our best and
right.
and give everybody the inspiration into what the garage can become. A lot of our projects, though, are a combination of that showroom look, but also very functional. Mm-hmm. So we will have customers who have a collector or an exotic car, or just a number of cars that they love. We also have probably our largest customer segment is just our families, who are busy families who may have children who are sort of in their prime, school age, and they have sports equipment, and they have, shoes and boots, and they have everything under the sun that needs to be stored in the garage, from bikes to holiday decorations and everything else in between. So it is somewhat challenging at times to really create a space that's very valuable, that's an extension of the interior of the home, and that's also consistent with their lifestyle. And that's really what we also work to communicate in our messaging, is that the garage space can be consistent with the rest of your house. It can be an extension, and it is about the lifestyle that you live and creating a space that's consistent with that.
So you've been doing this for a number of years now. What is it that gets you excited every morning? You get up and go to work.
So, it's changed, definitely. I think, when we were starting off earlier, it was really just about, finishing that project. That's one thing that's really exciting for myself and a lot of our franchise partners, is that, our projects don't take a long time to complete, and getting to see that project from start to finish is extremely rewarding. And then, being able to share that with the client in terms of their overall experience and their overall joy when the project's complete and they get to use the space, that's definitely exciting and gets us moving. For me now, it's really about supporting the wins of our franchise partners and helping them overcome challenges that we've experienced before, and leveraging all of the tools that we have at our disposal and our experience to help them to grow faster and really avoid as many hurdles as possible. So, when I'm able to, coach someone or work with our team to help them coach someone to avoid a problem, or to, figure out a solution to something that we've experienced before, is a lot of fun, because that's why we worked with, or decided to go the franchise route. We wanted to leverage our knowledge, and every day I'm excited about the opportunity to do that.
Do you have to manage conflicts or disputes with customers and franchisees, or is that something that franchisees have to deal with on occasion?
Yeah, so typically a franchisee would deal with their client directly. But it's not unheard of that we may get involved, even at the franchise partner's request, to say, listen, I'm having trouble dealing with this client. They have an issue with this or that. And it's very easy for us to give them a call or have a call together and say, we just want to make sure you're satisfied. What can we do to solve this issue? How do we go through the motions in order to make that happen? And, sometimes it's a very easy challenge to overcome, and other times it's very difficult to satisfy a homeowner. And we do our very best to do that, and provide the support to our franchise partner to not only get past this one project, but learn from this experience and be able to manage it on their own anytime in the future where they have something similar.
Right. Anytime you're doing it B2C, you're going to have people who are going to be unhappy, no matter how good you are.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't. Yeah, and it's interesting. We have sort of a saying that we use when we're in our sales training, that if you share or set the expectation that things are going to go right 100% of the time with the client, you're always going to, or you're likely to, disappoint someone. However, if you set the expectation that regardless of how things go, that you're going to be honest and upfront, and you're going to come to the table with a solution to a problem, you're likely to satisfy that client 100% of the time. And we really, use that to demonstrate that, and that's part of home improvement and part of home services, is that there's things can go wrong. You can discover something that you didn't know was there, or you can encounter a challenge that may be completely unrelated to your work, or the project. but how you handle that and how we conduct ourselves and how we pride ourselves on integrity really makes the difference between someone who is leaving you a 1-star review and calling our office and looking to speak with someone beyond the franchise partner, to really just a review that says we had this issue. They were professionals through and through, and we're thrilled with the overall result despite having to deal with this.
Yeah.
So there's definitely 2 ways to handle conflict or disappointment. And we always, really focus on. Did I lose you?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, sorry, my screen went blank. We always focus on, the best way to do that is just to be honest and upfront and communicative.
Well, that gets us to the title of the show, Listening with Leaders. And I'm always interested in learning about, from your perspective, how important is listening in your business?
Yeah, listening is much more important than speaking and sharing in most cases, whether that's with our team here, our franchise partners. It's critical. We need to understand what someone else is experiencing, how they're feeling. We've done a lot of professional development, and so we use a number of different strategies and tools to separate feelings from emotions from facts. And once we can name the emotion and really call it out and provide empathy, we're able to determine exactly based on the fact how we deal with a situation.
Right.
And so but listening and understanding and being empathetic is critical to solving any problem that we have.
Right. I teach both my academic students, my graduate students, as well as all of my clients, de-escalate, then problem solve. And the de-escalation process sounds like something that you guys have figured out, and that is that you ignore the words and pay attention to the feelings. And when you validate how people feel, they calm down, and then all of a sudden you can have that conversation that transforms the problem into something really amazing.
Absolutely. And the best example of this is, I think this is probably very common with small business owners or new business owners, where they think they're not making any money because their bank account has less than they thought it should have in it. And, that's a feeling, right? I'm not making any money. There's no money in my account. And, we say, okay, I understand that. It feels like, you're frustrated. You think you should be further ahead. You feel like you should be winning by seeing those dollars stack up. And, that is important to be able to see, obviously, bank account grow and not being tight on cash flow all the time. But, have you considered the investments you've made recently? Are you sitting on a ton of inventory? Do you have a ton of receivables? Like, where is your cash parked? Because if we look at your profit and loss and your cost of goods and your, cost of labor and your overhead, yes, you're profitable. You just may be taking that cash flow and, paying down loans or, buying or investing, putting a deposit on a new vehicle, or building your inventory because you have a large project coming up. So again, people often look at their bank account as a litmus test for success. And while it is true, over time, you do want that cash to accumulate, it is not necessarily, it's not a sign of success or failure. And so really understanding that when someone is very emotional about their success and their general financial health, is something we have to cut through often and peel back that onion and sort of say, okay, let's take a look at this because the numbers don't lie.
Right.
And so the numbers have no emotions attached to them. So, when you sort of connect those dots after you sort of have really made someone comfortable that, you understand what they're going through, it's a very productive conversation, and it leads to a different understanding of some of the basics of financial performance.
Absolutely. Yeah, it sounds like you guys have really dialed it in well. Good for you. So what is it, Aaron, that you think is unique about you, that you bring to the table, that has added to the success of garage living?
Sure. So, I don't think that I'm the only one in the world that could do what we've done. I mean, there's lots of great entrepreneurs out there. I've got great partners. That's definitely something that has been a factor in our success. We've been a strong partnership group for 18 years, and we're very much a family. We've reinvested in our business, so we've made sure that we have constantly been reinvesting in everything we've needed in order to get to that next stage. But in terms of my skill set specifically, I think that communication is definitely a strength of mine, and I'm willing to have tough conversations. But the overall approach that I take most times is, how are we both going to win? When I'm talking either to a franchise candidate, a franchise partner, or some of our staff, the outcome always has to be a win-win. And that's whether you're negotiating something, if you take too much off the table and the other person leaves feeling like they lost, that's going to lead to a short-term relationship. And maybe certain business deals make sense that way. And that's how it has to be in order for one company to achieve their goal. But when we're talking about long-term relationships, partnerships, it always has to be beneficial for both sides. And so, we try and ingrain that into our team members so that they communicate that way with our franchise partners and our vendors and our clients. That's also how we communicate value in what we do. We're far from the cheapest company in town. In many cases, we may be the most expensive. But there is inherent value in what we do and how we operate and the products and services we provide. And, again, it has to be a win-win. So we're going to provide that amazing level of service and the quality of products that you can't get elsewhere, and that overall phenomenal customer experience. And it comes at a price. And, most times, most people are happy to pay more for what they want and the value that they're going to get from it. And so I go back to that philosophy, and I think that served me very well.
I will always pay more for high quality, high value service. Always.
Yeah. I mean,
most smart people will.
You can ask. Yeah, I think so too. And there are times when I've said to myself, you know what, I paid too little. I think about a choice I've made or about a purchase I've made. And I think to myself, yeah, you know what, I paid too little. And it's not like I saved money and I benefited from that. It's just that what I got is, I got what I paid for, and it was perhaps a mistake. But sometimes people feel like they paid too much, and that's okay too. But it's all about really communicating the value. And most of the times when we do that and we do our job effectively, we have clients that feel like they've been very well taken care of.
Excellent. Well, one more question, then I'll let you go. What's one thing about yourself that we would never know about unless you revealed it to us?
The easiest thing that comes to mind is my wife's name is also Erin, but spelled differently.
Erin, like an Irish Erin, E-R-I-N or something like that.
Exactly.
Erin and Erin, that must have been an interesting wedding.
Yeah, it was the butt of many jokes, but yeah, it worked well for us.
Well, good for you. Well, Erin, thank you so much for your time today. I've really enjoyed talking with you. I know my audience has gotten a lot of great insights from you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Absolutely.